G'day and welcome to another video with Better Pics. Hope this finds everyone well. Today we're going to have a quick look at the new generative upscale that's available in Photoshop, and that's with the Topaz variant of that upscale. And we're going to compare it to the super resolution within Adobe Camera Raw, and I'm really keen to see this because when I first used the super resolution in Adobe Camera Raw, it worked really well. The results really did quite surprise me, so let's get into it. So I've got some footage here that I shot a few days ago just on the Gold Coast. It was just stock footage, which is why you can see the multiple clips there on the timeline. I have done a little bit of color correction to it, but we're going to export a couple of frames. And the reason that I chose this footage is because it's got a great combination of open, clear sky, as well as details within the frames that are quite detailed. So it'll be a really good test to see how clear and how sharp these images actually are. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to export a couple of frames, and we're going to export them as TIFFs and 8-bit, and we've got a folder already set up there ready to go. Now, the reason I'm exporting them as TIFF is because it's a non-compression file, so we should see absolutely no loss of any quality when we open and save new versions of those files. So that's why I've gone with that. Hopefully that will help in the process. All right, we're going to do one there, and we're going to export another one of exactly the same because I want to try the same frames within both options for upscaling. All right, let's pick that one as well. So again, lovely big open clear sky, as well as plenty of detail so that we can really test this upscale process. And we're going to do exactly the same, two versions of that one as well. All right, let's head over to Bridge, and you can see here are our 4 exports, 2 of each frame. And what we're going to do first is we're going to open both in Camera Raw, and we're going to test our super resolution versions. So I'm just going to select both images, and we're going to go to Detail. And you can see we've got the super resolution option there. So before we do that, we're just going to have a quick look. Now, this was exported out of Ultra HD footage. So you can see down the bottom there, 3840 by 2160. So Ultra HD or 4K. So let's just go into 100%, and you can see there's plenty of detail there. It really is quite detailed, given that is a frame out of footage. Roughly equates to 8.3 megapixel, which you can see down the bottom there as well. All right, so I have both images selected. We're going to go to super resolution, and it is applying that super resolution to both of them. There we go. So they are both done, which is great. So as with the new versions of Adobe Camera Raw and Lightroom, it actually applies it to the files non-destructively, so you don't have it creating a second version of that file with the super resolution attached or processed. All right, so you can see we've gone up to 7,680 pixels by 4,320. This equates to roughly 33 megapixel, which is a really good sort of middle of the road resolution that you would expect from a full frame mirrorless camera. There's certainly cameras that produce higher resolution stills, and there's certainly cameras that produce lower resolution stills. All right, let's hit done. Excellent. And you can see that we've got the little tab there on the top right hand corner to identify that those images have indeed had work done to them or had edits done to them. So we're just going to go to full screen for a second, and we're going to zoom right in, and you can see interesting result there. Now that's at 100%. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily got good clarity, but it is what it is. All right, let's go to this other image, and again we're going to go to full screen, and I would say the same thing. There's reasonable clarity there, but it's not great. Now, absolutely acknowledge that grabbing frames out of footage will never replace a raw photography workflow. As I've discussed in many videos, a raw photography workflow will always render better results, but this is just looking at a common scenario where people are pulling frames out of footage and wanting to upscale and increase the resolution and size of those files, and we're looking at ways that we can do that effectively and the best way possible with what's currently available. All right, let's open these both in Photoshop, and what we're going to look at now is the Topaz based generative upscale that's available in the new Photoshop. All right, let's go image, generative upscale. You can see the shortcut there for PC is Alt-Shift-Control-U. And we're going to go down to Topaz Gigapixel, and we're going to go 2 times because that's going to give us the same resolution that the option gave us in Adobe Camera Raw. Let's go upscale. Now you can see it takes a little bit longer, which is okay. It's still moving through at a reasonable rate. Obviously, the speed that your computer works at will depend on the settings and the resolution of image that you're working with. The reason I've gone with frames out of footage, as I think I mentioned earlier, is the most common scenario for my workflow where I'm going to upscale images is when I have to pull frames out of footage, generally speaking for clients. All right, there we go. That is the first one. Now, important to also acknowledge that this actually does produce a second separate file. And you can see over here that it's created a new layer. Let's zoom right into 100%, 50, 66, and 100. And we can actually turn off that top layer. So turning off that top layer shows us what it would look like if we were just generally upscaling. And with a Topaz Gigapixel 2x scale, you can see the detail is significantly better. All right, off and on. So definitely a better result. All right, let's have a look at that second image. And we're going to go edit, image, generative upscale, Topaz Gigapixel, and again 2 times. And we'll go upscale. So you can definitely see with this method, it does take more time. However, it looks by early indication that it's definitely producing a better result. So as I'm sure you've noticed, I did speed up the processing time there so that we're not sitting around looking at it for too long. All right, so we are once again definitely increased. We're going to go into 100% and the detail is pretty good. Detailing that crane would be very, very difficult. It's interesting. It's certainly not perfect. But again, let me remind you that this image is a frame that's pulled out of footage. All right, what we're going to do, you can see we've got the two times scale versions there. So I'm going to close down the other 2. So we've got the 2 that have been upscaled, and we're going to go into Bridge, and we're going to go into opening in Photoshop the 2 images that were upscaled with Adobe Camera Raw, and we're going to open those as smart objects. Don't need to open them as smart objects for this demonstration, but that's what we're going to do. All right, let's zoom in to 100%, and we're going to go in at the top of that building because we've got grey detail in the crane as well as the scaffolding. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Zoomed in. All right, so this is the super resolution Adobe Camera Raw, and this is the Topaz Gigapixel. It's night and day, isn't it? Absolute massive difference in clarity between the 2. So while super resolution, as I've mentioned in previous videos, does a great job, it's just getting better. Topaz Gigapixel definitely does a far better job. All right, let's have a look at this one. This one is the super resolution. We're going to go into 100%, so we're looking at a pixel by pixel scale. And this is the Topaz Gigapixel into, a little bit too far, 100%. Let's have a look at the 2. Super resolution, Topaz Gigapixel. There's really no comparison at all. The additional detail that's in the Topaz Gigapixel upscale that was done in Photoshop is significantly higher than the super resolution that was done in Adobe Camera Raw. So as you can see, this new version of upscale is absolutely worth having a look at. And I would say, even though you're compromising the benefits of a raw workflow, if you need to pull a frame out of video footage and upscale it for use for print, then the Topaz Gigapixel is definitely the way to go. That is just night and day, the difference, and absolutely a better result done within Photoshop with that new generative upscale. Grab some of your own images and have a test and have a play. I'd really love to hear what your experience is. Please let me know in the comments how you go. And would love to hear more about what you experienced and the results that you're getting. So be sure to let me know. Hope you found this video to be helpful. As always, any questions are welcome in the comments below. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.